The Road Not Taken, published in 1916, is one of Robert Frost's most well-known poems and was a part of the Mountain Interval, a collection of his poems. The Road Not Taken is made up of 4 different stanzas, and each stanza is made up of 5 lines. The stanza's pattern is A-B-A-A-B, and each line contains 8 to 10 syllables, which has an iambic rhythm. So this poem definitely has form, and Frost loves form. He once said writing a poem without any form would be like playing tennis without a net. And before we move along, I have a little bit of a history about this poem. So before Frost wrote The Road Not Taken, he was staying in England, and here he became good friends with Edward Thomas. So when Frost came back to America, he sent an advance copy of the poem to Thomas, who was so moved by it that he enlisted in World War I. Thomas died 2 years later in the Battle of Arras. Anyways, let's read the poem.
The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took to the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though, as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh somewhere ages and ages hence. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference.
So, we can see in the first stanza, a lone traveler is in the woods and he comes upon a fork in the road. The speaker is disappointed he cannot go down both paths because he's only one person. And this is just like in life when we have to make the decisions and choices. And we look down these paths and see where it will lead us, just like the speaker does in the poem. In the second stanza, we see the traveler still pondering on the 2 different paths, trying to figure out which one he should take, and he says both are fair, which can either mean both are attractive, or that both are equal and righteous. In line 6, the speaker says the second path is better, but he seems uncertain since he says perhaps. The reason for why the speaker chose this path is because it looks like it has not been walked on and worn. And later in this stanza, in line 9 and 10, we can see that the speaker cannot seem to make up his mind. He changes his mind about which path is better, and he admits that these 2 roads might be equal and similar. In the first 2 lines of the third stanza, we learn something new. The poem takes place during the morning hours. This can mean he was the first to come across this part of the path that day, and evidence of that is that the path is covered with leaves, which haven't been turned black by steps crushing them. In line 13 of the poem, the speaker says, "Oh, I kept the first for another day," which can convey the idea that the speaker is regretting his decision and is now rationalizing his choice by saying he will come back and go down the other path. This is something that we do to deal with situations like this. We say we can always come back and try it again later. In the next line, the speaker seems to understand that it's very unlikely that he will be able to go down this path as much as he would like to. He realizes that one decision leads to another, and he will end up far, far away from where he had started. In the fourth stanza, the speaker of the poem thinks forward in time to when he will tell this story, and this is most likely many years. We can tell the story is important seeing that the speaker believes that he will be telling the story after all of this time, but we cannot tell if the speaker is delighted or distraught about his decision. The speaker sums up his story by saying he will choose the road less traveled, and that this decision will change his life for better or for worse. In the eyes of an optimistic, the speaker would have seemed successful, but he could have also endured utter failure. The Road Not Taken centers on the concept of choice. The road in the poem is a metaphor for choice, and this particular fork in the road is a decision that the speaker will have to make. The poem shows the reader the choices in life, whether to go the popular way or be an individual and be yourself. And also, The Road Not Taken shows you how one choice can change your entire life.